Hey guys, so in this video we went from Boulder to Estes Park where we stayed and we camped, and we spent 2 days going in and out of Rocky Mountain National Park, and we had an awesome time. So we took off from Boulder and we head off into the mountains, and you drive through a couple stretches of the foothills of the mountains, and it really wasn't all that far until we were at the campsite. And the campsite was about 20 miles out of Estes Park, and we would come into town to eat and shop and go to Rocky Mountain National Park. So entering the park, first thing you see is a bunch of deer just all over. They seem to like to hang out at the entrance where there's all the people, and you have to have a reservation to get into the park, and even with that there's kind of a line. We saw people getting turned back because they didn't have a reservation, so you usually get it the night before. But we set out and we drove up and we saw the mountains, and this is the main scenic drive, and this day they had it still closed off, so we had to turn back. But the next day we took that drive, and this day we went on a pretty awesome hike past Bear Lake. So we looked out, saw the mountains, saw the views, and it was cold, but not too cold, and the sun made it warmer than it seemed. And we took a bus up. You have to take a bus to get to Bear Lake, and the bus broke down on the mountain, and we were stuck there for like 20 minutes on a bus with like 35 people or so that was a little bit scary. And it was raining just a little bit at the time, but they got it fixed up, and we got to Bear Lake, which was half frozen over, and there were all these little chipmunks, and they were super adorable, and we threw rocks to try to break the ice, and it was cool. We walked around it, and there started to be some snow that we walked through, and it was pretty slushy, and it started to snow, so we got snowed on, which was pretty cool. We really were not expecting this. It was June at this point, so it was pretty cool to get snowed on. Didn't last for too long, but it was really nice, especially at the lake. And we kind of just kept walking, not really expecting or knowing what was coming next. We just pushed on, and there were different lakes along the way, and there would be a sign that would say, this lake 2 miles, this lake 3 miles, and we just ended up going from one to the next, and we went from Bear Lake to Dream Lake to Emerald Lake. Bear Lake was really cool, Emerald Lake was cool, Dream Lake was really where it was at though, and the whole hike ended up being on snow and alongside waterfalls, and just it was all on snow. And luckily we had spikes that would go on the bottom of our shoes, and we also had walking sticks. Both of those came in handy a lot, and we finally made it to Dream Lake, which was here, which was just incredible. I mean, really tall peaks that went up really high right there, a glass lake, some fish in it, and we hung out and we had some snacks, and there were all the little chipmunks over there. They must get fed all the time because they had no fear of people, and was just a really, really awesome place. Definitely a very unique hike. And then we came up at the end of the hike, which was Emerald Lake, and we hung out there for a little while too. This was smaller than Dream Lake, but this seemed to be where the water came from, and it was just the end of it, and there were mountains all around that went up really high, and we climbed up on the rocks. And at this point they saw some animal that they said looked like a beaver, and I missed it. I didn't know what it was, but I'd find out a little bit more about that the next day. So we hung out here, and Rocky Mountain National Park is just a beautiful place. There's snow and trees and mountains and valleys, and the weather changed on us, and it just seemed a little bit ominous, so we got back pretty quick, and we slipped a couple times, But we got back and we took the bus back. We passed some more deer and elk hanging out at the front by the picnic area. And there were a ton of them. It was really cool to see them coming in and out of the parks. And we got some good burgers. There were elk on the menu, but I wouldn't want that after just seeing them all around this town. So we got regular burgers and we ate, went back to camp. And in Estes Park, deer and elk just walk all around the town, just with the people, with the cars. And back at camp, we got a fire going. We sat back and we watched some stars all night, had a great night. Woke up in the morning and we got some pancakes, which were made just perfect. These were probably some of the best pancakes I've ever had, and we had eggs and coffee and pancakes and a great breakfast. We talked with the park ranger, who was a nice lady, and she had this little dog named Maggie, and it was a super cute mountain dog in training. And we drove back to Rocky Mountain National Park. And this time they had opened up the scenic drive. So we spent the day driving from the entrance of the park to the back of it and then back. And all in all, this took 4 or 5 hours. But this was the animal that I had missed the day before. Turns out it was a marmot. And this was the first marmot that we saw, and we would see them in a lot of states to come, and they're always awesome to see. Just a really cute, adorable animal that hangs out in a lot of high elevation environments. So marmots, they look like a beaver, and they just hang out and lounge in the sun, and they have this tail that spins around like a rudder when they run, and they're just super adorable, and we'd see them from time to time. And this one hung out in front of a ton of people. I think it even walked up and bit a guy's shoe. It had no fear. And here we really started to see out over the entire spans of mountains, and they were really cool. And we did this 1 mile little walk up to some marker, and we climbed up on these rocks. And whatever elevation this was pretty high. I think upwards of 12,000, maybe a couple hundred feet above 12,000, and you got panoramic views of all the mountains, the Rocky Mountains. And this is still in June, covered in snow. So it was pretty amazing. And we drove on. We started to pass fields with streams and running water, and we'd see some moose. And this was the first one that we saw, a lone moose hanging out by itself. And we had wanted to see one, and I knew that we were going to. And we came up upon this field, which was just incredible. Red and green trees and a big open field with mountains with snow in the distance, and 4 or 5 large moose just grazing. And it was pretty beautiful to see. They are, or can be, a very aggressive animal, so you don't want to get anywhere near them. This is probably as close as you can safely get. We were still a distance away from them, so I wasn't really worried, but it was really cool to see them, and they just grazed along. We're definitely careful though, and it was like a field from a dream. It was pretty beautiful. Eventually you drive up upon sections of the park that had just been completely destroyed by fires that had been taking place over the course of the past year, and it's completely awful to see how much the fires have destroyed just entire mountainsides. And you drive through them, and you come up on these lakes that have these small little towns there that actually seem like a really awesome place to be. And then after that, we turned around and came back the way that we came in, and there were some more moose, and this one had a collar on it, so they're tracking some of them around the park. And it's cool how many there are just around Rocky Mountain National Park, and they're protected, and they're really awesome to see. I don't know what sort of ball sack thing it has hanging from its chin. I didn't know that they had that, but really awesome animal to see from a distance. And you pass the Continental Divide that we pass a ton of times throughout the rest of the country, and you just drive along the mountain and you see the mountains and the views from them. And we came around Rainbow Point, or Rainbow Curve, where there actually was a rainbow, just right there, right in front of us. And it was pretty amazing, the timing, and it went away after a couple minutes, but it was really incredible. And we went back to Estes Park and we walked around the town and we did some shopping, and it's an awesome little town. I've always loved going to Estes Park. And we got some food, and you see just more elk, this one with a giant rack on its head just walking right through the street. And we had some more food, ended our night, packed up camp, and we were on our way towards Aspen. And here you see the Boulder Boner. And we had a great time at Rocky Mountain National Park. Hope you enjoyed.